Sweet Success is brought to you by Hospitality.fm, the podcast network for hospitality professionals.
I'm Blake Dailey, and you're listening to Sweet Success.
You've just checked in to Sweet Success. Join me, Katie Cline, for exclusive conversations with hotel executives, hospitality leaders, and industry innovators. Together, we'll uncover the strategies and techniques these masters of hospitality relentlessly refine. Whether you're already in the industry or just starting out, tune in every week to unlock the secret to your sweet success. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sweet Success. I'm your host, Katie Cline, and today I am thrilled to welcome Blake Dailey to the show. Blake is a boutique hotel investor who started with a single short-term rental that he purchased while on active duty with the military. Over the last 5 years, he scaled his business, purchasing 6 hotels and 6 short-term rentals across 4 states. Now, with 25 employees and more than 200 short-term rental listings that he's bought and managed in addition to his hotel portfolio, Blake teaches aspiring investors how they can do the same. Blake, thank you so much for being here today.
I'm stoked to be here, Katie. This will be fun. We get to talk boutique hotels, so you're going to have to be like, all right, stop talking now. We got to end the show.
I never want to stop talking about boutique hotels, so I'm excited to dive in. There are so many things to me that are super impressive about you. And one of them is that you started investing in real estate while you were active duty in the military, which, by the way, thank you very much for your service. You were stationed in Florida when you chose to purchase your first short-term rental. What went into that decision for you?
For me, as a way to first offset our living expenses, like I was dead set that when I commissioned, we moved to our first duty location, that I was going to buy real estate. My whole thinking was duplex, triplex, fourplex, put tenants in there. It'll pay for the mortgage. We'll live for free or at least drastically reduce our living expenses so we can save more of our, what we're earning from the W-2s from the Air Force to, roll that into the next deal. So the plan wasn't originally short-term rentals. We kind of just fell into it. And because the first deal that we found, I was just scrolling through, I think, Zillow or Realtor, and found a house with a second kitchen in the pictures. I was like, wait a second, doesn't say anything about a duplex, doesn't say anything about an extra unit, but I see the extra kitchen, and then went back through the photos again. I was like, okay, I think this is a whole separate unit, and we weren't in Florida yet. So I just put out the offer, and we got the deal under contract. I was like, cool, I guess we're doing this. And then looking at this studio space with its own access and a kitchenette, its own bathroom and everything, I was like, we're not really going to be able to rent that as a long-term rental and still cover the mortgage, which I thought was expensive at the time. It was like $980. And I'm like, I look at the mortgages on the properties now that we have, it's much, much more. But at the time, first deal, it seems like a lot of month. So we got to do something different. We've got to, me and my wife, we stayed in Airbnbs and traveled cheaply, right? Stayed in the basement units, the mother-in-law suites, the guest houses, the private rooms, whatever we could get for $70, $80, $90 a night. And I was like, I think we could do about 70, maybe $80 a night on this thing, make $2,500 a month, maybe $2,000 a month on the low end and cover everything. And we ended up doing a little bit better than that and actually paid us to live for free. So we had net cash flow after the Wi-Fi, after the utilities, after everything. And I was like, ooh, this is pretty cool. I think I like short-term rentals.
Yeah, I think that that dopamine hit of getting the income from something that you're so passionate about, there's nothing like that. So was it from there that you then thought we need to do this again? Creating a strong brand is about so much more than just a logo or a color palette, as you all know well. It defines who you are to your guest, and that's why I love working with Lodgify. Their platform helps short-term rental hosts and boutique hotel operators put their brand front and center. Customize a direct booking website that looks and feels like you, not just another cookie-cutter listing. Plus, Lodgify makes it easy to centralize your business needs, managing guest communication, bookings, listing updates, and more, all in one place. Visit Lodgify.com and use code SWEET20, that's sweet like hotel suite, for 20% off their annual plans to go from running a rental to building a brand. Check out the link in the show notes for more.
Yeah, that was exactly it. Like we got paid there to live for free. And I was like, we live in the house, in the main house, like the 3-bed, 2-bath main house portion. We're just renting the mother-in-law suite and we have net cash flow. Like I said to my wife at the time, Nicole, I was like, Nicole, imagine if we bought another house, like the rental income from the main house would pretty much be all profit. Like after taking out cleaning costs, you get like have a small tick up in utilities. But I was like, we'd be cash flowing, $3,000 plus per month. It's like, we got to find another one of these. So that kind of started that little strategy of ours in the beginning that ultimately led to, the first boutique hotel, but it was these small multi-units. So it was main houses with guest houses. And that extra unit could be, a guest house, a mother-in-law suite, a carriage house, a detached ADU, like whatever kind of second unit I could buy that, that house had. I was essentially in my market at the time getting 2 houses for the price of one, because most real estate agents, like the first one, no mention of a rental or extra unit or anything like that. It's just pictures of an apartment. So we found out how to found how to really like target these kind of properties, driving for dollars, looking for the bad Zillow listings. And we bought one that was like 7 blocks away from our house. And this one was detached. It was a house with a guest house and a pool in the middle. And I was like, ooh, that pool is going to look really nice on Airbnb. And that has been probably our best producer for, the last 5 years. We still have that one today. And we rent the main house, we rent the guest house, and we rent the whole place together. So it's like 3 listings on one property. And that strategy just crushes.
Investing in short-term rentals is one thing. As you said, you guys were frequent users of Airbnb, and people can kind of understand how to buy a single-family home, even if they've never done it before. But understanding how to finance a commercial real estate deal, which obviously boutique hotel investing would be, is a completely different beast. So how did you educate yourself before that first deal? And what was it that made you want to jump from short-term rentals over to the hotel side?
Yeah, so I kind of had a unique journey, and then I went to commercial through commercial multifamily first, and really cut my teeth there, and that prepared me more for the hotels. So what that path looked like was, after a year being down in Panama City, we bought the first house, we bought the next one 7 blocks away. We were doing some off-market deals. We added a couple more units over that first year, so we had 11 units. From July to like July or August of the next year. And this was in 2020. At that point, our net cash flow from the Airbnbs, I think we had 8 Airbnbs and 3 long-term rentals. And our net cash flow exceeded what I was making from the Air Force. So that was my whole 5-year goal. Like I knew I had a 5-year contract going in. It's like in 5 years, I want to get, build up our real estate portfolio. So I have the option, I'm not staying in a job that I don't like out of necessity, if that actually is the case. So it's all about optionality for me. And that made me like pivot and think differently. Like I should be going bigger. Like this long 5-year goal that was hard for me to even think that far in the future. It's like I just knock out deal after deal after deal and we'll eventually get there. But I had my head down doing that so much and making a lot of momentum that we got to that cash flow exceeding our W-2 point. And I was like, all right, we got to go target bigger deals. And that led me into commercial multifamily, because I saw it as, more scalable, more efficient. You can have on-site maintenance. You can raise money from investors, right? It's a lot more conducive to like what I could do as still an active duty Air Force officer. Like the residential houses, the Airbnbs all around Bay County were really cumbersome for me to manage while also having a W-2 job, because we did everything ourselves in the beginning, so we didn't have the scale. So through that process, it took me about 10 months to get my first apartment deal. And, in that process, longer than obviously I wanted it to be. And I think whenever you're making a big, jump or pivot in strategy, you're trying to go to bigger deals, like expect it to just take longer. But you got to put in the work. So I was learning how to underwrite commercial deals. I was learning the difference between, what's a 506B versus a 506C, and how you raise money from investors to fund these things, how to get debt, Freddie Mae, Fannie Mac debt, how to operate them, how to put the team in place, all those things to run, a 60, 70, 80, 100 unit apartment complex. And got the first one in February of, 2021. It was like $5.5 million, 66 units. And that was really cool. But in that same amount of time, like we got under contract on that first, and then this lead came up. It was a small little 8 unit. It it was operating as a multifamily, but it was zoned for hotel. And it was in Fort Walton Beach, which is an hour and a half or about an hour-ish away from me, also in the Panhandle over by Destin, where I was at the time. And I was like, 8 units under one roof. It can be short-term rented. I have 8 units over here, but they're all spread out. So like, it's not very efficient to me to run and take supplies or, go manage cleaners, or I was like the maintenance guy at times. So like over there, it's out of distance. So it's going to force me to like utilize the team.
Yeah.
2, it's 8 units under one roof. There's on-site laundry. Like all the guests are coming into one place. You send your cleaners to one place. Like it just should operate more efficiently, right? Was my thought. And then on top of that, it was $357,000. So I was like, I'm buying houses in the 200s or the maybe, buy them in the 150s, making them worth 250 or 3. So I'm like, it's not that much different in price. So I was like, let's take a shot at this thing, and got under contract on that. And when I saw the numbers, we closed about the same time of February of 2021 on both the multifamily and the hotel, the first 8 unit. But when I saw the numbers on the hotel, I was like, this is going to make me as much or more than my smaller piece of that, bigger multifamily deal that I did with partners. And I just saw the cash flow numbers like, oh my gosh, I'm a boutique hotel guy now. And then we ended up buying 5 more over the next 12 months after that. So we went all in.
That's incredible. I have so many questions from what you just shared. The first is, when you first thought, I want to buy a short-term rental, through to multi-unit apartment building, through to boutique hotel, did you ever have any doubt along the way? Was there ever a moment where you're like, this is crazy, we might go bankrupt, I might lose all of my money? Or were you just super confident all the way through?
I think it's manufactured confidence. Like, I think the action that I take kills the uncertainty and kills the fear, because I'm like, if I'm just putting in the work, right, I'm going to chip away at the risk points that would make you fearful. Like if what causes you to go belly up and go bankrupt is that you're undercapitalized and you go into a bigger deal, well, you better learn how to raise money and bring in all the investor capital that you need. And if that is dependent on your returns in order to raise money, you better get really good at underwriting and analyzing deals and finding the right deals. So just like the more I did those things, I was like, I see the path. I don't know all the steps yet. And if you wait until you have all the answers, you'll never start, because like you probably know, I'm the same way. I still don't have all the answers. And I've been doing this for a long time. I've done 6 hotel deals. And I just never act like everything's going to be there. Like I'm going to have every answer or know every, pothole to avoid. And if you're waiting on that perfect moment, you're going to be waiting for a long time. And for me, that's just not how I operate. I'm like a go now, ask questions later kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think if you wait till you have everything figured out, you'll spend your whole life waiting. But what you just talked about, fundraising, I think that's really where I see a lot of people get stuck, myself included. And I am now interested in one day purchasing a boutique hotel, especially after listening to a lot of the interviews that you've done and, reading books and everything as well. And it seemed like something that was so crazy. And when I started kind of airing the idea within groups of friends, I either got like laughed at, or people would be like, wow, you must have a lot of money, which, unfortunately, no, I don't. And then you realize that there are all these creative financing strategies out there or ways to raise funds. So what was your learning journey like? Because you did talk about, learning debt, learning fundraising, learning how to operate, etc. Are you a voracious reader? Were there certain podcasts or books that you were looking to? How did you take that path to education before you got involved?
Yeah, I think real quick to kind of touch on what you had said in there, I think a lot of people are getting to that same mode of like people laugh at them or doubt them or tell them they can't do it. And you're always going to have that, whether you wanted to, go start a pet toys business or start boutique hotels or, start offering some kind of software as a service because you came out of the tech background. People are always going to laugh at you and doubt you and they're going to project their fears on you of why they couldn't do something or why they wouldn't do something. So if you let other people dictate your own action, then again, why would you expect any different results than what they have? Like if you have somebody that's blazed the path, that's bought hotels and is laughing at you, they're probably just an asshole or not. But they're probably very likely not going to, because they've done it. They know it's possible. right? So like I'm here having bought 6 hotels, telling you like if you want to buy hotels, and this is for everybody, listen, if you want to buy a boutique hotel, you can absolutely do it. And I think how you get over that fear is it's really just knowledge gaps. It's like you're fearful of the uncertainty, right? So you asked about what that learning journey looked like to make, to manufacture the confidence to act. It was pouring into the subject matter, right? So like there's kind of 4 big pieces of commercial real estate. So it's like your finding deals, your acquisitions, your underwriting, your finance, your asset and your property management, and then your investor relations. So like those are the 4 pieces you really need to get a bigger commercial property. And you can either wear all the hats and do all that stuff yourself, or you can partner up with other people, which is also cool about commercial real estate. It's a team sport. You don't have to do everything yourself because oftentimes a smaller piece of a larger pie will yield you a lot more financial returns than the bigger piece of the small pie, like if you did everything yourself on a smaller residential portfolio.
Right.
But those are the 4 big pieces, right? So if you're hesitant because you're uncertain, if that's causing the fear, go down the list. Like learn how capital raising works, right? If you're going to be offering a security, you're in the realm of the SEC now. So now you've got to look at your exemptions to public offerings, which is Reg D. Then under Reg D, you have 506B for Buddy and 506C for Charlie, right? 506B, you can't advertise, but you can bring in non-accredited investors, meaning like probably most of the people in your network. And 506C, you can advertise, but it's only accredited investors, right? People with $1 million net worth, or they make $200,000 a year. So it's like you go down the list like that, right? You start to fill in the knowledge gaps. And then you don't have to have all the answers, but you have to know enough to go be dangerous, right? There's a fine line between analysis paralysis and building up the confidence that you need to actually act, especially if you're raising money. Act smartly and find a good deal and raise money for a good deal, and at least know how you should operate it. Like there's probably a lot of things if it's your first one that you're not going to know right away. But again, you know what you don't know. Like you try to piece together, and you don't have to do it all yourself, which is cool. Like you can have partners like, hey, you focus on capital raising, I'll focus on deal finding, together we'll make this work. So I think one is that strategic partnerships are great. The accountability of having somebody who has the same goal is really great. But if you are, again, wanting it to be easy, if you want the path to be completely clear and like know every single thing that you got to do to get there, you're just never going to have that. Like that is investing. There's inherently risk, but if you want it, if your goal is big enough, you'll stop making excuses and just go. And for me, like the excuse was never even an option. It's not on the table. It's like, here's the goal. There's stuff in my way. So I've got to either go around it, go under it, go through it. Like, I don't care what it is. I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think as an entrepreneur, building a business, starting, something new, you have to have some, you have to be on the spectrum of willing to do that. Like if your W-2 is not enough, if your current career is not fulfilling you and you want to go start a real estate business, if you want to go start your agency, like whatever that is, you're never going to get there if you don't start working towards it.
You have a mastermind program where you actually coach people on how to do this. And I'm wondering, with what you're saying, what are the unifying characteristics that you see of the people who are attracted to this space and who do well in this space versus maybe people who reached out and thought about joining and then chose not to, or did their first deal and very quickly realized this is not the world for me?
Yeah, really good question. I'll try to break down this customer avatar as best I can in a succinct manner. I think first of all, it's like you have to have like a willingness to be an action taker, and you have to have like demonstrated to me through it's application based. So to date, we've still turned down more people than we've let in because I'm just like, you're not ready for this. And if I'm going to spend my time showing you the path, like I want my time to be fruitful. I don't want to spend the year you're in the program coaching you on things you won't do, and then you never get the result, and then you blame me when I did everything I could, but you weren't willing to take the action. So I think people want an easy button, and boutique hotels, commercial real estate, there often is not an easy button. Like there's a lot of nuances to these deals. So I'm just very upfront with that in the first place. And that's like the whole reason why we opened up the Hotel Launch Runway community as a way to like get people into the space to start learning it, where it's not as big of a financial commitment. It's not as big of a time commitment. Like you can kind of learn self-based and be community-based and then get around more people that have the same goal. And it's so crazy. And now and there, like people are already partnering up and getting deals under contract. And like it has been a really good eye for positivity. But in the mastermind, which is where I work with the people, like I'm coaching, acting as a consultant in their business, and then giving all my boutique hotel operation systems, the SOPs, like everything that I use to run my business. Like I don't know the right way to say it, but like maybe protective over that. It's like I want the group over here to be a group who's going to go blaze through and really redefine like the hospitality space through boutique hotels, because I think it's such a growing niche. There's so much demand in it. And the deals that we're doing in that group are freaking incredible. Like these people blow me away. So in there, like what I've seen be like the common background of people is probably 75, 80% plus have some kind of short-term rental experience. I think the average is like 15 short-term rentals or more that they've owned or managed. So they already know the foundational pieces. They're already well adept at, like, they know it's a hospitality business at this point. If you buy and or manage like 15 or more units, at some time you're taking in outside capital, whether it's a private money loan for a BRRRR deal and they're like doing a BRRRR B&B, doing the rehab and making it into a short-term rental. That's pretty common. So like people have already got through the initial steps. And if like they don't have this base requisite knowledge, that's where like it's like before I couldn't help you, or now there's the host launch community where you can kind of, or the runway community, hotel launch runway, of where they could do that at. But in this group, they have, short-term rental experience. I would say probably half, maybe a little bit less, have commercial real estate experience in some regard. Or then we have kind of the outlier, which is the industry professional in hospitality. So commercial designers, or they worked in hospitality. They were a consultant. Like they've made more money. They've been into their career. They know how to kind of put the pieces together and, take down an acquisition like that. And then I think the people that do really well out of that bunch who get into the group are, again, it comes down to like the action takers. Like our quickest time under contract was like 6 weeks, I think. Wow. We just got a guy in a couple weeks ago who's trying to beat that now and has an offer going out, I think tomorrow. So I'm excited to see if he breaks the record.
So competitiveness is also a trait I'm hearing within the group as well.
It's kind of got to be like gamifying it, is like, you've got to, knowing that you're not going to get deals if you don't put out offers, right? You're not going to get offers accepted if you're not, you're not going to put out offers if you're not analyzing deals. You're not going to analyze deals if you're not looking for and screening enough deals.
Right.
So if you logically work backwards, you got to look for and screen deals. You got to put out offers. And then that's what leads to getting under contract and getting the deal. So it's like, that's what we break down. I was like, we take away the fear and uncertainty, because like, if you do this, expect this. If you don't do this, expect to be in the same spot.
Sure.
And it's just very transparent with like what works well, what doesn't work. Sometimes it's, sometimes our group calls are therapy sessions because we're all going through different things. And then sometimes they're super, dialed in on a certain topic like capital raising or deal finding or whatever it is. But in any case, it's really fun.
Are most people making offers before they have the financing in place? Like they might have a general understanding of what they're entitled to borrow or how much they will need to raise, but they're not actually having all the partners signed, sealed, delivered before the deal is in hand.
Yeah, I think almost always is deal first, lending second, because commercial lending is different than residential. So like typically if you're going to go buy a house, you're going to get pre-approved by a lender, take that pre-approval letter to your agent, and then go start looking for places, right? And that pre-approval letter is going to strengthen your offer. Commercial real estate, however, is different. Typically you're still having, 1 to 3% down of like earnest money that's going into it. So you're getting you're putting it out your LOI, your letter of intent. Then you have a little buffer to kind of negotiate terms with the seller. Then you go under contract, which is, all right, now they can't back out. We can't back out unless we forfeit our money, or, we use our inspection contingency or whatever that might look like. So when you get under contract, then you send your contract to the lender. They're ordering the appraisal, the inspection, all that kind of stuff. And really like the situation of your deal, like, is it a big value add? Is it, will the income that it's generating today cover the debt of the new loan, is going to be a big determining factor in who's going to lend on it. So if what the property is producing won't cover the debt at whatever, $2 million purchase price, like, cause that you're going to have, I don't know, what would that be? Probably 15, 20,000 a month or something like that in debt service. Like if you're not netting 240K with that deal, it's not going to cover the debt. And then like, that's going to cut out a lot of lenders. So, but you have options. So like the first one is always like, I say always like try with the local banks, the community banks, the credit unions, because they're going to know the market. They're going to know the deal. They're easier to negotiate or pitch on yourself if they're comfortable with the risk tolerance. Then you'd have like the SBA or USDA, like these government loans that'll lend on, businesses and on hotels. They will do projection-based lending. So it means if it's not covering the debt of the new purchase price, you can show your pro forma, like what you expect the property to make through the improvements, through the redesign, whatever you're going to do to it. Like I'm buying it here, it's producing X, but I'm going to make it produce Y, which is a lot higher. So they'll go based on that. And then if those options don't work, you have like your bridge debt or commercial hard money. But like you mentioned earlier, like creative finance and seller financing, like those are always offers that I put out. So like that's actually how I broke into it first. My first little 8-unit hotel was seller financed, 10% down that I raised money from investors for. I put money in myself too, but raised money from the investors for the down payment and the repairs, and the seller carried the rest until we got it all done. Then we refinanced and paid everybody back. So yeah, creative financing is always a layer to that cake.
Yeah.
And almost no matter what, I'm putting in a seller finance offer along with like, hey, if we do bank financing or whatever cash, it's going to be lower.
Right. The next time you're traveling or celebrating an important occasion, book a photographer photo shoot. They make it easy to capture memories by connecting you with hand-picked professional photographers in over 350 destinations around the world. I should know. Capturing memories with family and friends is super important to me, and I've booked photographers from Maine to Paris to London. A photographer shoot is an essential part of every trip I plan. They also have an incredible affiliate and travel advisor program. Add a photo shoot to your customer's next itinerary and earn 10% commission. Visit flytographer.com/sweet success for $25 off your first shoot or to sign up as an affiliate or travel advisor. That's flytographer.com/sweet, like hotel suite success. You've also talked about how this market is really ripe for seller financing because you have a lot of mom and pops still owning and operating these kind of boutique motels or roadside motels. Is that something you're still seeing today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think probably, I'm trying to think of like a deal that we've closed in the community that's not been like a baby boomer seller.
Wow.
I'm sure there's one or two in there, but most of them are tired out, baby boomer generation that have owned the property for a long time. They're getting out-competed by the market now because people are better, right? They're marketing it. They've got better listing photos. They're doing stuff that the boomers aren't doing, right? They're not on social media. They're not building a brand or, posting about their property. They're not using dynamic pricing. So they're, at best, they've got like a weekday rate and a weekend rate.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, there's so much money left on the table right there. And the properties are outdated because they're just not reinvested. They've already paid off their debt or a lot of it. So they're just not reinvesting into the property, and just over time you can the property is only going to stay in its current condition for so long if you're not updating things and fixing things when they break. So I think it makes a really good scenario for somebody like me or you to come in and say, hey, I've got these great plans for this property. The income can be twice as much or potentially even 3 times as much that is like we've seen by doing the right things, by better design, better furniture, better branding, better marketing, better listing distribution, right? Being where people are actually looking, by revenue management. Like those things are going to make this property earn 2 or 3 times as much. So I can go buy it from Mr. Baby Boomer for $1 million or $2 million bucks, raise 500 or 600K down for the property, and then it's going to be worth 4 million on the back end, or maybe potentially more. So those are the deals that we see pretty often. I think our average purchase price is around $1.5 million, somewhere in that 1 to 2 million range. And they're typically doubling in value. And depending if you have investors or not, that's a lot of money getting added to your pocket for I want to say easy, but like the plan is pretty systematized. Like you got to market it better, do better revenue management, make it look better, and just give it more attention. So like these older people, they just haven't upkept the properties, and they're at that retirement age now. I'm like, why seller financing is more likely in those scenarios is they like the income from the property most of the times, but they don't like managing the property. So it's like, all right, Mr. Seller, I can still pay you X amount per month, and you seller finance it to me. That's my payment to you every month, but you don't have to manage the property. You're out of it. You get the tax benefits because your payments are deferred or spread out. I would say not deferred. They're spread out over multiple years. And if like worst case, I'm going to renovate this property. So if you ever take it back, you get it in better shape and you can go resell it if you want. So it's like, it's really a win-win-win on all parties if the deal makes sense for them. And of course you got to make the numbers work. It's, might be a bust if they're trying to 1031 it or take the money and go buy another property. There's always challenges you got to work through, but yeah, seller finance, 3 out of my 6 have been seller finance. So it's an amazing strategy to make it happen.
The design portion, I think most people listening or watching would agree with. Like you see a lot of very tired looking hotels, motels. But what's been fascinating to me when starting to look into markets and potential properties to acquire is the distribution, like you said, and how some of these hotels are still, in order to book, you have to call during opening hours and speak to someone, which you just cut out probably all of Gen Z and half of millennials right there.
Yep. Or go in person, which is crazy. Yeah, there's one down in Panama City Beach. You actually had to go to another hotel where they had like their staff in the office to like check in and get your keys to drive back to the other hotel to check in and go to your room.
Right.
And I was like, that's just a pain in the butt. Of course, you're not going to be very occupied. Yeah. And that is like the most common thing is like maybe half or less have websites. None of them are using smart locks. I mean, almost all of them have like physical keys like that you have to put in the lock. And I was like, I haven't had a keychain with actual keys on it in, I don't know how, 3-4 years maybe.
Yeah.
Like we have smart locks at home or the coded locks. So it's like, it's just, they make the barriers to booking really tough. And if you start to market better and make your place look nicer and then remove the barriers that people have to actually book and come stay with you, it's not that crazy that you would see a big increase in income. So it's not like very complicated stuff. It's like the execution, I think, is the harder part, but it's like, I think everybody could wrap their idea around, okay, cool. I find this older hospitality asset, hotel, motel, cabin community, whatever it is, that's just, vastly underperforming. If we fix it up, make it look nice, get it on Airbnb and Booking.com and Expedia, we put some smart locks on there, we make booking it easy, and it's in a good market, of course people are going to come stay. So like that's the cool part about it.
So you have talked about 3 pillars really being crucial in boutique hotel investing. Number 1, the deal. Number 2, marketing. And number 3, operations. I feel like we've talked a lot about the deal in terms of what you were just saying of design and renovation and distribution and revenue management. Is there anything else when you're looking at a deal that we haven't touched on yet that you think is really crucial for people to know or understand?
I think when I first started, I was kind of looking for anything in a good market close to what was bringing people there. So like, for example, it'd be on the beach or across the beach in Panama City or close to the ski resort or close to Lake Tahoe and Lake Tahoe. So we hit those on the head. But as I've, kind of evolved and done more deals and gained more experience and found what's really worked well, I'm like, it's really the unique features, the appeal, the bookability, right? Those Instagrammable moments that really make it stand out and book well and kind of create a brand around the property to have people want to come back, right? So I think it's the amenities are huge. And then how you picture and market those amenities. So like that kind of takes out roadside motels, motor lodges from the acquisitions criteria for me, because you're very limited on what that property can become, right? Like it's got a parking lot and it's rooms and that's it. So for me, I'm like, that doesn't fit my vision. That's not the kind of property I want to own. I want to, buy and renovate or build stuff that I would want to stay at and that I like, that pictures really well, that we can build a brand around, and that just, it makes it easy to market. And you get that through, right? First, the right location, or the first market, or the right market, the right like location within that market, and then the right amenities and design to bring that to life and really capture the demand that's in that market. So that is what we look for, is great market first, then identify the best deals. And if there's not, the best deals, we'll look at, all right, can we add units? Can we build something? So that's what we're looking at now. We've done a couple development offers in the last couple of weeks to build something unique, because the land and location and that the spot within the market really makes sense. So that's what I would look for, is like market, location within the market, and then the amenities and how you can, make it into something special.
What are some of the amenities that you're really focused on or you're seeing perform really well right now?
Pools are always great. I think any kind of water feature that you can have, depending on kind of who the audience is here. If you are familiar with like the Hocking Hills property in Ohio, really, really great property, awesome design. They have this like waterfall feature going into this swimming hole with this little dock that comes out, and you just picture so well, like all four seasons. It's just stunning. They built that. Like it's just a recirculating water pump that comes down like the water or the rock formation that they created. So that's a really good example, is like if you don't have water on the property, there's a stream running through it. Maybe you can, pull a pump off of that, create a rock feature, and create your cool little waterfall and swimming hole. Or it could be, a pond or a lake. Water does really well. Then probably like second on that list, or first, depending on who's making the argument, is the views. So if you can be, mountaintop or lakefront or hilltop, or, a clearing through the trees, like the view is what's going to put people, take them from that photo and then put their feet, in that position, right? They're going to picture themselves there and be like, oh my gosh, look at that. We got to go stay here. So the view is super huge. Like, and that's really hard to objectify, right? And it's hard to capture in listings as well if the photos aren't great. So it's where knowing the market, or, having better data really helps. Outside of that, like the experience type stuff that people can do when they're on the property. Like for example, at Tremont Lodge, the renovation, we've got, hopefully, knock on wood, a month left on, we added pickleball courts, an outdoor movie theater screen, fire pit, playground, this big pavilion overlooking the mountains with a fire pit and an outdoor kitchen and tables and chairs and hammocks, and then a pool bar, and then a lounge and a speakeasy. So all those are picturable areas that give a different vibe and a different experience, but all fit within like the design thread of what we're creating with the new amenities at that property. So it's an experience-based, stay that's going to yield you higher occupancy and higher rates, because it's not just a place to stay when you're traveling there, but it's an experience in and of itself. Like if you can go do your thing in the market, right? Maybe it's go to the national park, or go to the ski resort, or go to the lake, and then come back and continue the experience. Like that's what's cool. Like that's what's going to yield better results and will stand out more in your marketing. So it's just like, again, it makes it easier to market by having those kinds of things.
And speaking of marketing, that was the second pillar that you had mentioned. That's obviously my favorite pillar, of course. But you are mentioning a lot about, products or experiences that photo well. Well, what else do you think of within that marketing framework?
Yeah, good question. I mean, first and foremost, it has to be like, this isn't a cop-out answer, but like the marketability of the place from the start. Like you've got to have those really picturesque moments or areas at the hotel, or the views, or, the fog coming off the hot tub with the dusk photos in the background. You got a cute few stars popping out of the sky, because that's what's going to put people in the picture and like want to be there. So creating those spaces is super, super important. But then how you get that message out to people, right, is like the easiest one that we talked about a little bit is listing distribution to start. So you can do a whole launch program, a launch thing where you're like, all right, we just want to fill up with direct bookings. We're going to do social media ads. We're going to build a brand through our construction phase and, get people involved with it and just launch direct. You can do that, but you're going to get a lot more eyeballs and awareness. And it'll be a lot easier if you're not good at social media to do, right? Get listed on Airbnb, on Booking, on Expedia, on hotels.com, right? And through your PMS, you should be able to do all of those in one go and manage them, whether it's short-term rentals, like you're appealing to kind of both subset of guests with, or, potential bookers with boutique hotels. So like get everywhere where people can find you. And then like the easiest way to just get your first direct bookings is create the profile, or in the listing description, or both, is like have your property name, describe your property, all those kind of things. So like the good bookers now, the heads up people that are looking for a place to stay will find it on Expedia or whatever, and then Google this place, look up the reviews, look up the pictures, and find the direct booking site and book there. So that's where we got our first ever direct bookings before we ever, years ago, before we ever really trying to increase direct bookings. We're like, let's just get out, we'll put the name here and have a way for them to find us if they want to try. And then they did. And I was like, oh, cool. We need to put more into that. And then of course, like the social media, the branding, like how you present the property in your area is huge. So how can you like tell a story about your property? Because that's what's going to differentiate you versus another hotel in that area. Like if you have a good story, like for me, it could be like veteran owned, family, whatever, family owned and operated. And, we got separated from the Air Force. We moved here, we've been doing this renovation, and now like we're excited to show what it is. Like people kind of resonate with the story behind the stay. And of course, just more Instagrammable moments, like capture those on social media and post them, and then drive people through, your link in the bios or giveaways or whatever it is to people that are booking. So those are some of the easiest ways to market in. SEO is a really like underrated one right now. So we're doing paid ads and SEO marketing, getting a ton of leads, especially for weddings right now off of SEO. So if people are looking at Smoky Mountain weddings, we're popping up and we're getting the appointments booked off of that. And then the appointments made and then the sales after that. So SEO is a really good one that for hotels, not a whole lot of people are doing, because most people are just like listing it and that's it. So if you just add the layers to it, you'll start to see more and more results. But like build one bridge, then move to the next one. Don't try to my advice wouldn't be like do SEO and paid ads on organic social and whatever else. Don't try to do all that at once. Like build one bridge and then move on to the next.
Keeping up with online reviews across platforms is tough, but FeedCheck makes it easier by bringing all reviews from all channels into one place. In addition to tracking your own feedback, you can even monitor competitors to see how you compare. They provide deep insights into customer sentiment, trending topics, common issues, and patterns that might otherwise be overlooked. Plus, real-time alerts mean you can respond quickly before things escalate, and AI-powered suggestions help you craft better responses. So, if you want to stay ahead of your reputation, book a demo with FeedCheck at feedcheck.co/sweetsuccess or through the link in the podcast notes. The last pillar that you've talked about is operations. And I think this is the one that is the most murky to me or intimidating to me. What are your top pieces of advice to make sure to get that right?
Yeah. So for like operations, I'll dive right in and I'm like, I feel at home here. And marketing is like, oh man, it's it's all in the eye of the beholder. But for operations, I think it's people and it's systems. So that's how you build a really good operating business. That's also how you scale yourself out of all the doing, right? Of you being the general manager, of you being the housekeeping person, of you being the maintenance guy. So people and systems is how you get out. So what does that look like? People, as you buy a boutique hotel, you're going to have more revenue right off the bat. And typically, like if you're in the 500K plus range of gross revenue, you probably have enough to hire a location manager or property manager or general manager, whatever you want to call them. Like they're the person that runs the day-to-day of that hotel. And really they become a filter for you. So you can focus on driving revenue for the business, growing the brand of the hotel, making more money with the business of the hotel, and they handle the day-to-day. Another great way, like easy systemization thing is your guest relations team. So all of our guest relations team is in the Philippines, and there's arguments is like South America better, is Philippines better, whatever. Our people are great because we train them really, really well. We send them through a 2-week boot camp after a very rigorous screening process. We test their English competency through written tests, through verbal tests, through multiple layers of interviews, and then train them for 14 weeks, and then have more time of them training with our manager. So they know what they're doing when they come in. Like they're answering the phones, they're dealing with resolutions, the requests, the bookings, the problems, right? So they're dealing with most of guest communication. And then we have our managers that are location manager, property manager, whatever you want to call them, that are dealing with the issues that come out of that level. So like that's the people part, right? It's just as you continue to scale, you start to put in like the next layer, and then you can get to a point where you've got functional responsibility, meaning you've got the function, a person for the function of revenue management, a person for the function of marketing, a person for the function of property management, and then sales, and then finance, and you just keep going out. In hotels, you just get there a lot faster, right? It might take 2, 3, 4 deals only, if that, depending on the size, to put all those people in place, and you're really running a business. Now you're managing the managers you're leading, right? You're not doing as much. So that's the people component. And the systems, it's like anything you do more than twice, write it down, build a process step by step. It could be a video, a Loom recording, or if you got the Zoom app, just pull that up and record to your computer, throw it in the Google Drive with your step-by-step process, and then hand it to those people that we just talked about, right? Like that's what you need to start doing, is like identify where your time is going, what you're spending time on. It's like you keep answering guest messages or inquiries or these problems, or you're the one doing the resolutions if they're asking for a refund or they check out early or whatever. Like build the system, like step by step, what you do when those things happen. And then it makes it so much easier to hand off to somebody. And then you show them how to do it. So now they have a written process. If you can, record a video as well so they've seen it, do it with them, and then you can hand it off and they run with it on their own. So that's the systems component, is just anything that you're doing that you're spending time, build a system for it and hand it off to your team as you grow. And then also doing the system will save you time, even if you're the one holding the thing, because you don't have to think about it. You just go to the Google Doc or whatever it is, pull it up, and like, here's what I do. Like you systematize your own work to make yourself more efficient so that you can spend more time growing the business, getting the next deal, growing revenue, so you can put a person in place. So on the operations, that's essentially what it is. And I just think in the beginning, for sure, as close as you can be to the business, the better you see all this stuff, right? You know the people that you need to hire first. You know where the systems need to be. Like if people keep showing up and they're not, like they keep losing their physical keys and can't check in, you should probably switch to smart locks and then, connect it to your PMS so they get the automated code and get right in without issue. So it's like those things, like being aware of how, like the levers of how your business actually works, and then you put them in place. And as you scale, you start to hand that off to people.
Last September, you hosted the first ever Boutique Hotel Con. Can you tell us a little bit about that event and if you're planning another one for this year?
I haven't started yet, so it's coming. It'll probably be September again. So, year after the first one. I wanted to do it a little bit closer, like after the renovation was all actually done, but it'll give us a little bit more time to get through this busy summer season. And September is a slower month, so we'll book up the whole hotel and make that good, I think. And it's just a better time once people are done with their summer travel and everything. But when we did it last year, the whole idea was like this niche of boutique hotels is growing. People are interested in it. STR operators are scaling up. They're getting their legs cut out from underneath them with regulation. They're getting, overran by the day-to-day of their business. So they want that jump to something bigger, more scalable. Like me going from the residential to the commercial multifamily at the start. And then I was like, I'll just get more cash flow out of the hotels. Let me go over there. So more people are starting to see that path and I think become more aware that it doesn't take millions and millions and millions of your own dollars or corporate backing or a hedge fund to go buy a hotel. Like you can identify an undervalued hospitality asset. You can negotiate seller financing with the seller. You can go raise money from a few people you know. You can figure out all the details of how to run it just through trial and error, through like a mastermind like mine, and get it done and make really good money with it. So like people are making that shift. And Boutique Hotel Con was a way to like bring all those people together. I was like, I didn't have anything like this when I was learning hotels for the first time. So I just did, like I was saying, I was like, I'm gonna go do it and ask questions later. So I learned, just trial and error, because there was nowhere to turn. There wasn't a platform. There wasn't a community of people who were doing this and had already gone where I wanted to go. So that was kind of my way to give back after I sold my 4 hotels back in 2023, and then kind of in the process or before rolling all that money into this bigger 130 unit resort in Tennessee, I had this time, I was like, man, I want to be doing more hotel stuff. I want to be helping people. And by that time, people are reaching out. So it's like, I've got an idea. I'm just going to, I've been in masterminds. It seems like a cool thing to do, and just get the right people in the room together and it'll go. And that's kind of how it'll grow. And that's kind of how it's gone. So that's been really cool to see. And that led to Boutique Hotel Con. I was like, I want the people that I know out of my network that are, the best at raising capital or talking about finding hotel deals or marketing hotel deals, or like somebody just came out of the transition from STRs to hotels to like build this, not just network, but kind of education as well. So it's just a really special event because of that. Like how many flipping conferences do they flip a house at the conference? Like zero, right? Like how many wholesaling conferences do they do a wholesale live from stage? Maybe they do that, but like seeing it happen, the strategy happen live, I think it breaks down that barrier. It's like, look at what you can do in just a few years. There's 130 units on 10 acres, huge freaking undertaking. Like it's possible, guys. I know because I know a guy. Like look out the window.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm so excited to hear you're doing it again. I definitely am planning to attend. So I think that sounds incredible. Blake, I want to ask you the last 3 questions that I ask every guest. And the first is, what was the best hospitality experience you've ever had?
The best hospitality experience? Well, when I stayed at the Source Hotel in Denver, I was like, I really want to buy that. It's like 7 stories, rooftop bar and restaurant and weight room and just a whole market around it. So I really liked that hotel setup. The best hospitality experience, though, has probably been some of the smaller Airbnbs that I've stayed in where the hosts were just super kind, very, I don't want to say involved, but they were curiously asking questions. Like they wanted to get to know you. They wanted to make your stay special. They wanted to give you the recommendations. I feel like Airbnb's got a lot less like that over the last, 7 or 8, 9 years since I've been, using it to stay. But back in those early days, the hosts, they were like, yeah, come stay in our basement. It's you and your fiance or you and your girlfriend. Like, we'd love to, this is where we would go on our date nights when we were dating. So it was like really cool stuff like that, where it wasn't the Ritz-Carlton, but it was really caring hospitality, which when I, got my first Airbnb, I was like, this is cool. We can do this for other people and provide these kind of memories and these good experiences. So kind of a combination of those 2 things.
And on the flip side of that, what was the worst hospitality experience you've ever had?
Oh man, probably like checking into an Airbnb that was just like absolutely not what it was marketed. Like different setup, dirty, no shampoo in the bathroom, dirty towels if they even had towels, rude, host when we brought stuff up. I think that was probably one of them. And then I think me and Nicole, I can't remember if it was when we were driving from Colorado after I graduated back to Indiana on our way to Florida, we stayed at the roadside at like a Super 8 or something like that. And I was just like, all right, let's just keep driving.
And final question for you. What does hospitality mean to you? And is there anyone, a person, a brand that you think has truly mastered it?
Hospitality means to me, it kind of makes me think of growing up around my grandpa and grandma. And I lived with them like basically throughout high school. And even before then, like their house was always the hub. Like we'd always hang out there with my friends. The doors were never locked. The keys were in the cup holder of the car. Like we just would always come in and come out, and grandma was always asking if people were hungry and like literally would go make them food. So everybody felt guilty, even if they're hungry, like, no, we don't want you to have to get up and make us food. But she loved doing it. And like Sundays was always biscuits and gravy and fried eggs. And maybe if we got lucky, some bacon. And she would just make the biggest cauldron of gravy and like 2 full pans of biscuits, and just everybody would eat biscuits and gravy and love it. It's still like her biscuits and gravy is still legendary to this day. So that's what I think. Like they were just like give the shirt off their back kind of people. So it's a very hospitable home. And I think the companies, the brands, the hotels that I've stayed at that have done that really well kind of reflect aspects of that. Like they go out of their way to make the guest feel welcome. This could be in a restaurant, this could be in a hotel, aspects of this could be in retail or even, business settings, right? Like they just make you feel welcome, like you belong there. Like if there's a concern, we're going to go above and beyond. Like while you're here, you should have no worries. You should have no issues. And if so, we got your back. So I think all the negative hospitality things have been like when they're just like taking our money and take that for granted, right? So the good ones are like, we would do this if we're doing it for free. Like the upside is it's a business and we got to make money by making people feel happy and feel good. And that's really hard to pull off. I think it's very hard to be consistently very hospitable because hospitality is a people business and people have their ups and downs, right? They have their days where they're in good moods, where they're in bad moods. So to be consistently hospitable, what I found is very, very hard. Hospitality is a tough business to be good at. But it's such a fun challenge to, like, when you nail it, you're like, dude, we are awesome. This is the best hotel in the world. Like we crushed this. And then you get some of those reviews. You're like, oh my God, what are we doing? So it's just, it's feast or famine. But I think the consistency in which you can make people feel welcomed is like all the difference in the world.
Blake, this has been so fun, so enjoyable, so educational for me. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, everyone. It's time for today's sweet summary, where I break down the key insights and actionable takeaways from today's conversation. Talking with Blake was a refreshing reminder that success doesn't come from following a rigid path. It comes from taking action. He's living proof that you don't need to come from a specific professional background in order to build something incredible. He didn't start with experience in short-term rentals, commercial real estate, or boutique hotels, but through relentless learning, filling in knowledge gaps, and good old-fashioned trial and error, he made it happen. And it's not lost on me that a lot of what he's built outside of real estate investing is rooted in solving problems he once faced. His boutique hotel investing conference, well, that was born from the resources he wished he had when he was starting out. His Mastermind program, a direct response to the challenges he saw holding others back. Blake isn't just building businesses, he's creating roadmaps for others to follow. When I asked what united the most successful members of his mastermind, one thing stood out. Many started with short-term rentals, almost like a gateway drug to boutique hotel investing. These are people who understand that whether you're running an Airbnb or a hotel, first and foremost, you are in the hospitality business. He was quick to point out that hospitality is hard, that we're all human, and we all have our good days and our bad days, but we work in an industry where guests expect incredible, sometimes once-in-a-lifetime experiences every single day. For those of us who love it, well, we wouldn't have it any other way. Overall, I think my favorite takeaway from Blake is the lesson of manufactured confidence. When I asked him if he ever had any doubts along the way, he said that it's the actions that he takes that kill his uncertainty. That putting in the work chips away at the risk points that made him fearful in the first place. And most importantly, that if we all waited until we had all the answers, well, then we would never get started in the first place. And that concludes another episode of Sweet Success. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, rate, and review the show. We all know how important those 5-star reviews are. I also want to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. It means the absolute world to me. And I'd love to hear from you. If you have ideas for future guests, new topics to cover, or even just want to say hi, don't be shy. Message me through our website, sweetsuccesspodcast.com, or on social media @sweetsuccesspodcast. That's sweet like hotel suite. Once again, I'm your host, Katie Cline, and I'm super excited to see you all next week.